This is the Milo Sweet podcast where you learn to be resourceful, find quick and clever ways to overcome life's challenges. And guess what? Achieve more with less. Use what you have to get where you're trying to go. Learn to do difficult. And for excuses, get rid of them. I mean, all of them. They're dead to me. Let's go. Hey, before we get started, I need your help. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, review, and share. You really like the show? Want to put your money where your mouth is? Click donate. I would love your support. Okay, so I just listened over the weekend to this, what was the guy's name? Let me look his name up. I think his name was Gary Bishop. Hold on. See, Impact. It was on Impact Theory. If you haven't heard of that, it's a YouTube channel that I fancy. It has like a lot of interesting interviews, and it's, I don't know, better than watching like, his name was Gary John Bishop. Okay, so he's quite an interesting little story, but something he mentioned that really stood out to me was that sometimes we're looking for people to love us, but really what we need is to love others. That like, as you become a friend, it's like, you ever hear that scripture? I think it's like, be a friend. I think it's a scripture. If it's not, let's just say that I thought it was, but I think it is. But it's basically like, if you want a friend, you need to be one. You need to be a friend first. So if you want love, you need to love first. I don't necessarily subscribe to that theology or through that understanding, but the way he provided perspective on it, I thought it was a great little tool to add to your life, meaning that a lot of times we're waiting for someone to unlock the love for us. Like, you're waiting for people to treat you like you're lovable. You're waiting for all these things, and I often believe you teach people how to treat you. So when you screw up really bad and you mistreat others, you, in a way, teach them how to treat you. It doesn't mean that you should, like, hold that over your head and walk in all this, like, unforgiveness and condemnation, just make yourself feel really, really bad. But what I am saying is that your footprints that you walk through life with teach people how to treat you. He even went so far as to say, which I thought was kind of interesting, that really love is unconditional. Now, his concept of love is a little bit different than mine in some ways because, you know, I am Christian. So God teaches us how to love, and he first gives his love to us. So I do believe that there's an initial acceptance, but from a actual practical, logical perspective, I could really rock with him because I found that sometimes you're expecting someone. I'm going to tell you what he went so far as to say. Just hold on for a second because my brain is jumping around. So I find that we are walking through life like someone has to activate us to be nice or to be kind to them or to treat them, or that if your spouse says something rude, now you all of a sudden, you can be rude. And I don't subscribe to that. Now, doesn't mean I'm perfect at that. That's not what I'm saying. Don't confuse those two. I am not saying that I'm perfect at that. I'm saying that I don't believe that just because someone did you wrong, you should do them wrong. I actually just don't believe that. I believe you can put up a standard and say, hey, this is how I would like to be treated. And when someone does you wrong, you can remind them of that and that. But he said that I hope I'm getting this right, but he said that if someone cheats on you, they didn't cheat on you. They didn't do you wrong. They did what they felt they needed to do. And you can decide to do what you feel you need to do, or you can allow your love to be unconditional for them. And I know, okay, so that was like a lot for my brain. I was with it though, because I do believe that he said it's unfair to think that you would spend your life with someone that really truly loves you and they make a mistake. Now, I'm not saying you have to subscribe to this, but just hear me out. And they make a mistake, but they have a track record where they show that they've been there for you. They've been a good spouse or husband or wife to you, And all of a sudden, they make a mistake. Now your love has conditions. But he said it's not fair to think that I don't know if you can hear that. That's like my fridge making noise. Okay, anyway. So, yeah. So he was like, it's unfair to think that that's not on the table when you get married. And I actually do think making mistakes, even including that, is on the table when you get married, because you're humans and you're flawed, right? So that even when you decide to love someone, you're not deciding to love them in just their best state. You're deciding to love them as life happens. And life happens, man. And I've just seen some things that it's like, when you see that someone loves that person through that, I mean, it shows you, for me, it just really shows me like how much, God really loves us. That there's nothing that will separate us from him. And John, I think his name, or Gary, is it John? Okay, Mr. Bishop, basically, he didn't subscribe to like Christian, beliefs or whatever. But what he was saying was that he didn't want to love his partner based on these conditions. He just wanted his love to flow to his wife. And I thought that was phenomenal. There's a lot of times we have all these conditions. If you do the dishes, then that means you love me. If you walk the dog, that, yes, I think there's certain acts or fruit of your love. But I also think sometimes that's just our best effort that day. It really is. I know that, so I want to put this in a not in a box, but I want to set some parameters. There's a foundation for love. I like to think of love as the foundation as like soil. So you do need some healthy soil, and you do need a seed that's actually going to grow. Okay. What that means is, for your relationship, I'm not saying that anything toxic. So to be fair though, I've seen some toxic things turn out okay, but I've seen some other toxic things turn out completely wrong. So I'm not saying put up with something that is wrong and that's detrimental to your health or things like that. That's not what I'm saying. So I want to take that off the table. I'm saying you have the right soil for your love, which is the foundation. You have the right seed, and you're adding water and sunshine to it. Okay. But weathering the storm is when there's a famine, when there's things that you didn't expect. Maybe there's a wildfire. Maybe there's things going on and there's no harvest this year. It's just not here. Maybe it's a 2020 love year. And you guys got to weather through that. And you don't put any terms on it. You just decide, I'm going to love you through this. I'm going to be there for you through this. And so I liked that he said that, because I often find that when you put too many conditions on things, I don't know, it doesn't allow for growth and change. And it doesn't allow for you to have failure and learn from it. Because failure in love will happen. Mistakes will happen. And I don't think, like I said again, back to the foundation, that you need to have a good foundation. So back to his initial question was we're waiting for people to do all these things so that we can do all those things. But what if you just choose to do what's right and then allow people to show you? There's times where I've been told, hey, you should do this. That person was really rude. You shouldn't do that for them. You shouldn't be there for them. You shouldn't X, Y, and Z. And what I found is I still tend to do what's in my heart for the person. And I have found that first, for me, it feels better. But second, now there's cases where, you just mess up. Okay. So I'm not talking about those. You try to rectify it just doesn't work out. But a lot of times it's just an open door where it's you can always reconnect. You can always work on things, because I don't want to live a life where all these things are burnt down. I just don't. Even if they should be. There's some people you maybe will never talk to again. And that's fine. It's absolutely fine. But I don't want to have it in my heart where I'm walking through holding all these things against them. Because even though it might seem like it's affecting them. It's affecting me. So in your life, where are you holding back love from people? I find that people even hold back love from their kids. If their kids don't do X, Y, and Z, or they get on their nerves too much, they hold that back. I think for your kids, it should just be free-flowing. Are you holding it back from yourself? Where you're like punishing yourself if you don't do certain things instead of just allowing yourself to be and embracing that. Also, how do you respond to people when you don't get your way? I know some people that are really, you can be a great person or good at something, but you can treat people pretty crappy. And I know some people that would feel like they deserve something, and because they deserve it, they deserve to treat you. And I don't see it that way. I believe life changes, and sometimes someone hands you a blow, but it really was the best thing for them. And you have to still be okay to challenge that. To challenge your feelings on that. You can feel that way, but I don't ever want to be mad at, like, maybe someone they hurt me, but they freed themselves to make the best decisions for their lives. Why wouldn't I be happy about that? To celebrate that. So where are you in your journey? I think this is a great question before 2020. So an example he gave was like, he felt like his mom, that he had become who he was in spite of his mom. Not that his mom made him, not that his mom like helped him to become who he was, but in spite of who his mom was, he became who he was. So he felt like he overcame his mom. And then finally he had a moment where he decided he just wants to love his mom for who is. She's never going to change. If she changes, great. And this was really impactful for me because you set parameters on how you want to love people. And we should love them as is, especially people, your parents. Just love them as is. They may never change. They may never tell you those words you want to hear. But they're here. They're here. And you love them for being, And think about it. For them to give you what they gave you, what were they given? Sometimes they gave you more than what they got because they got absolutely nothing. Just nothing. They made that nothing into something so they could have something to give you. Might not seem like much, but that is the truth. So where are you? What boundaries, what things are you holding back? Because I believe if you hold back love, then you are short on receiving it. Whatever you're sowing, you're going to reap. And yeah, I definitely think you should observe how people interact with how you love them as well, and you can decide how things work. But, and what are your views on cheating now? Do you agree with him, or you think, like, he's crazy? I'm kind of really feeling his ideology on that. I really am. Because I think, like, why marry if you don't know that anything can happen at any time? That you're marrying in spite of that. All right, that is all. A lot of food for thought. If you have thoughts on this, you can send me a voice message, anchor.fm/MyLoveSweet podcast. This episode is sponsored by howtohomeschoolfromtheheart.com. Want to stop crying? Want to get motivated and empowered? Clarity around homeschool, cultivating a learning environment you'll love and your kids will thrive in? Go to howtohomeschoolfromtheheart.com. All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening too. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like, for real. No, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.